Welcome to Sober Girl Spring. This is seriously the ultimate glow up. So in this episode, we are going to ditch the booze. We're going to embrace the bloom. This spring, we're leveling up. I know that sounds a little cheesy, but you've got to get into the energy of spring. And what better way to do it than ditching alcohol? But don't worry, if you've already ditched alcohol, this is still the episode for you. We're just going to bring some fresh energy into all that hard work and all that effort you are making, because it is progress, you guys. Progress. As I get closer to my 2-year mark of sobriety, I'm feeling a little nervous about this warm weather. It is catching me a little off guard. I'm I want to be out there at the pool, but can we do it with a Diet Coke in our hand? Absolutely, because I don't want the hangovers. I don't want what comes with that little bit of buzz. Even if you get a good buzz for an hour or two, what comes with it is absolutely horrible. So what better time for a sober girl spring than spring? Spring is about fresh starts, but let's be real. Most people just use it as an excuse to day drink, which I just said, day drinking on the patios and calling it self-care. We're not doing that anymore. So what if I told you that cutting out alcohol could actually be your biggest glow up yet? You would be all in and all over a sober girl spring. Personally, for me, my alcoholism last spring was completely out of control. It was insane. And last May is really when I hit a big bubble of my alcoholism where I was I can no longer drink at all. There was one really big incident that super stands out where I embarrassed myself in front of my kids so bad. And I thought to myself, that's not the mom I want them to see. And they are kind of grown up. One is 14, one is about to turn 20. And I was this is who their mom is. There's no excuses for that. And that's not who I want to be. So last spring I got super wasted. I remember it was a warm day. We'd spent the day at the pool, got belligerently drunk. Don't remember Ubering home. And apparently I came home and fell on my dog. And I have an elder dog. It was my elder dog. Her name is Charlie. She's a weird Chihuahua mix. We don't really know what she is. And truth be told, I actually bought this cute dog off of a lady in a parking lot when I lived in Salt Lake City. We were at the grocery store and I was hey, you should let me take that puppy for you. And that's how we got Charlie. They told me she was a chug, but she is not a Chihuahua pug. She is a Chihuahua delicious something. And she is just one of the most unique dogs ever. She is about 13 years old and she's had to have almost all of her teeth pulled. But for some reason, this last time they left one of her big long teeth. And so she kind of just stammers around with this tooth hanging out. And oh my God, I just love this dog. But yeah, so got drunk, Ubered home, acted like an ass, said some horrible things to my oldest daughter, fell on the dog, the elder dog, poor Charlie, and embarrassed myself. And I remember waking up that next day and having to apologize. And I'm those things I said, those aren't things I even think. I mean, I was telling my daughter I was so disappointed in her and we've never been happy with her and just horrible things. I can't ever go and take that back. And I know it has put a damper in our relationship, but the only thing I can do is, I go to AA, they call it a living amends, is I can just get up and do my best and show her that I'm not that person and that we do not think those things. But that was really kind of the bubble for my alcoholism. But this is kind of a fun fact. Did you know that alcohol sales spike 40% during spring break and this whole festive spring season? So 40%. So if you are feeling you want to drink, you are not alone, because clearly that stat right there tells you that everybody else is wanting to drink as well. We're all out here guzzling overpriced cocktails thinking it's fun. But is it really fun if you wake up with anxiety and $100 bar tab? If you're lucky, $100 bar tab. I don't even want to tell you guys what I used to spend on alcohol. So is it fun? Where's the fun in that? Let's have a sober girl spring. Alcohol has a pretty wild past. Did you guys know that Egyptians brewed beer before they built the pyramids? And I know they say the pyramids are super old, but I think they're even older than what they say if you follow a conspiracy TikTok. So that means they've been brewing beer for a really long time. The Greeks used to drink beer at symposiums as well, but they would dilute their beer with water because even the Greeks knew that straight up booze was a terrible, terrible idea. And America is really booze obsessed. I mean, think back to some of our heritage and some of our history. The Wild West, whiskey was safer to drink than water. Prohibition and speakeasies, AKA the original hot girl summers, and then even the modern drinking culture. Why do we romanticize this blackout behavior? I can't even tell you how many times I've had people in my life black out, act nuts, and I've been oh, that's okay, you just had too much to drink. It happens to everyone. That behavior is not acceptable. And there are some pretty insane, crazy stories that relate to alcohol. I thought this was so interesting. Have you guys ever heard of the Great London Beer Flood of 1814? Yes, people literally drowned in beer. So the Great London Beer Flood of 1814 was a bizarre and tragic industrial accident that happened in London's St. Giles district. And hopefully I'm saying that right. St. Giles, St. Giles. But it was on October 17th, a massive vat at the Muex and Company brewery, it burst and it unleashed 320,000 gallons of beer into the streets. And this triggered a chain reaction, causing other vats to rupture. And suddenly a literal tsunami of beer started flooding the neighborhoods. And this is what happened. This totally blew my mind. Look this up, you guys. It's crazy. The brewery had these huge wooden fermented tanks held together by massive iron rings. And one of these rings just basically snapped, causing the vat to burst. The force of the explosion knocked over the vats, releasing over 1.4 million liters of beer. So that's enough to fill nearly 500,000 pints. So that first eruption literally triggered all of these other ones. That's so much beer, 1.4 million liters. That's crazy that they were like brewing that much beer in 1814. But anyways, so the wave of beer destroyed buildings, flooded basements, and trapped people in their homes. And tragically, 8 people died. Most of those people that died, they drowned, but some were crushed under debris. So people reportedly tried to scoop up and drink the beer, but the flood was mixed with debris and even sewage, and it made it toxic. The brewery was taken to court, but wasn't held responsible since the disaster was considered an act of God. Like what? As God was like, I will burst these beer vats and flood the street. But Muex and Company Brewery continued operations until 1921. That's crazy. So why does this story even matter? I think it's really just a wild reminder of how obsessed society has become and has always been with alcohol. It also shows how dangerous early brewing techniques could be, which you guys don't have to worry about this spring. I've never heard of anyone drowning from a beer explosion, but that's okay. But let's be real. If this happened today, could you imagine it'd be all over TikTok? Like POV, you're in the world's largest beer pong match. But there's a lot of tragedies that kind of circle around alcohol on a bigger scale. And then of course we all know somebody who has struggled with alcoholism and they didn't make it sober. There was the methanol tragedy in Prohibition when people drank toxic alcohol and they went blind. Okay, that's crazy. I don't want to go blind from drinking alcohol. And I know this is a little controversial, and if last year me was standing here, she'd be like, what the hell are you saying? But I just really think that if we treated alcohol the way that we treat other drugs, bars would be illegal and people would side-eye their drunk friends instead of hyping them up. I kind of wonder if alcohol will ever be like smoking cigarettes, where we'll be like, what are you doing over there? What are you thinking? What's going on? And that's because alcohol really is doing damage to your body and your mind. Right out of the gate, it causes brain fog with your decision making. This is a fact. Alcohol literally shrinks your brain over time, and studies show even moderate drinking impacts memory and cognition. And I've had experts on the show. We've had nurse practitioners, and I've had different people who have studied this, where we literally go into the science behind this. And I've even talked about it. If you go back and you look at Dry January and some of those episodes, and it will literally blow your mind what you're doing to your mind. No pun intended there. Alcohol also gives us a fake sense of dopamine. So alcohol tricks your brain into thinking you're happy, but it actually depletes dopamine long term, making you more anxious and depressed. And this was something I was experiencing super hardcore. A study in 2022 found that people who quit drinking for just 1 month had increased dopamine levels and lower stress. That's just 30 days, you guys. I was suffering from such severe depression, and there was other things going on as well, like some hormone imbalances and stuff like that. But basically it was like I had a little fire going, a little depression fire, if we want to call it that. And I was throwing gasoline on it. I was doing so much damage to my body, my mental health, and everything in between. Alcohol also dehydrates your skin, speeds up aging, and causes tons of inflammation. That circle face is real. The circle face is so real, you guys. And now I can see it in other people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I looked like. You can go back and look at photos of me on social media. And it's kind of wild how much my face shape has actually changed. I've always had a bit of a round face, but it was so puffy. And I can remember how my skin felt and I hate it. But really, your glass of wine for the antioxidants is doing more harm than good. If you want real antioxidants, you guys, eat some damn blueberries, eat some damn real fruit. You're not getting the antioxidants from wine that you think you are. Because I've heard that excuse before. Like, oh, it has antioxidants. And we've all seen like red wine. One glass of red wine is good for your heart. Like, I don't know. I'm just not buying it. Alcohol also slows your metabolism by 73% for hours after drinking. So all of that hard work I was doing in the gym, weighing my food, but because I was drinking so much, it was basically like, what the fuck are you doing? Because your metabolism slows down an insane amount. 73%, you guys. These are like facts after you drink. So really that low-cal vodka soda, it's not as harmless as you think it is. Okay, so now, we've really nailed it home why we don't drink or why we were gonna do a Sober Girl Spring, but how do you actually do that? So here's my steps to having a Sober Girl Spring. I'm gonna get that on a sticker, Sober Girl Spring. I'm gonna make it right now, I can see it in my head. Sober Girl Spring. But really the first steps to sobriety and something that helped me was just romanticizing it. I started treating mocktails like an aesthetic experience. So I will put them in my favorite cups, even if it's just a Diet Coke with lime, even if it's just some club soda mixed with a drink syrup. I put them in my favorite cups and I still enjoy the experience. I have so many glasses, you guys, like so many. I collect glasses. Like one of the worst things you can do is take me to an antique store that has really fun glasses because I'll want to buy like one of each. And so I still want to use those cups. It's like, just because this really cool glass might have been something I used to drink wine out of or something that you could drink whiskey out of, it doesn't mean that you can't like enjoy your beverage. Right now I'm really into Diet Coke, like super into Diet Coke. I would probably have to work on that. I'm going to have to cut myself off a little bit. But a Diet Coke, a crispy Diet Coke in a fun glass, like what more could we actually need? And when you're romanticizing this whole sobriety thing, you want to create new rituals for yourself. So sunset walks, journaling, cute coffee shop dates. You guys have seen me do all of these things. I probably won't be going for a sunset walk though. Oh, maybe I will. I just got this weighted vest and I've been wanting to try it out. I haven't tried it out yet, but maybe that could be my new thing. But cute coffee shop dates, I go everywhere for the coffee shop view, but I'm lucky. I live in Southern Utah and there's so many cool coffee shop places to go. Like take yourself out, you guys. Do things. You don't have to be in your house all the time. And then go ahead and make yourself a spring vision board, Pinterest core style. You can make so many fun boards on Pinterest. I have a lot of fun at night, like just listening to books, like instead of scrolling TikTok, or watching like a random show. A lot of times I will scroll Pinterest. I'm not just scrolling TikTok or watching Netflix, by the way, you guys. I don't think there's a difference between that and me scrolling Pinterest. But a lot of times I'll make like little mini vision boards for myself, like using Pinterest. So make a Sober Spring Pinterest board. Like what are some things you want to do? So after you have, number one, romanticized sobriety. Number two, peace. Number two, I don't know. Number two, you want to upgrade your social life. Seriously, be the friend who makes plans that don't revolve around drinking. Try sober events. They absolutely do exist. Like, has anyone heard of yoga? Just kidding. If you're not into yoga, because I'm not really, go find some sober events. I have gone to sound baths. I've done like all sorts of different things. Like look something up and go to it. Like it doesn't have to be declared sober, but there are things that obviously people are not drinking at. And when you're upgrading your sober life, like don't be afraid to just kind of use humor. It's okay to make fun of yourself. I retired from hangovers, but I still judge your bad decisions. I actually really love that. It just is what it is. You don't have to be ashamed that you're not drinking. That is one thing I really wish I would have done differently along my sobriety journey, is just not give two flying fucks. Like for reals. Why did I care what people were going to think of me not drinking? It's kind of wild for me to look back and see, but I was in such a shame and guilt state. So if you're there, I encourage you, move out of that space. It's not doing you any good to be a martyr. You deserve to be sober and you don't really have to explain it to anyone. Okay, and number three for your Sober Girl Spring, we are going to take the no drunk texting challenge. I'm kind of obsessed with this. How many times have you woken up and you have cringed at your own texts? That's alcohol, because sober you would never. Just like I told you guys, I was like, sober me would never say those things to my kids. Sober me would never fall down on my elder dog. So for Sober Girl Spring, let's take up the whole stance of sober you would never. One thing I say a lot, because people are expecting me to react sometimes like I would have in the past, like, drunk Sam would have. And I have made jokes. Like I've been with my family and, they're looking at me and they're looking at my mom and they're looking at me. And I'm like, oh, sober Sam doesn't really care. So sober you would never do that. So try 30 days of sober, fully intentional texting. And I think it will change your life. All right. Number 4 for your sober girl spring, we're going to track this whole glow up thing. So you're going to use an app to see how much money and how much time you save. The time one was so big for me. Notice how your skin, your energy, and your confidence has skyrocketed. Why don't we do this? Why don't we just use our notes app, track our time, track our money, and make little notes about how our skin, our energy, how we're feeling, how we confidently showed up in a situation. And here's a sober spring fact for you. Most people report feeling noticeably happier within 3 weeks of quitting alcohol. And if you're not a notes app girl, go ahead and get yourself a notebook. Or if you're a guy listening to this, go ahead and get yourself a notebook. And number 5, find your sober alter ego. Create a persona who is the hottest, most powerful, most magnetic version of you. What would she do? And hint here, not waste her time hungover. But really, for your sober girl spring, society sells us this idea that drinking is freedom, but is it really freedom if you feel like shit the next day? I know it's not for me. I don't want to ever wake up feeling like that again, ever. That is my worst nightmare. And I really do believe that the real flex isn't being able to hold your liquor. The real flex is not needing it at all. Not needing it for social situations, not needing it to cope with life, not needing it to cover up the hurt, the pain, not needing it to celebrate the joy and the good times, because that's the truth about alcohol. We used it for our shitty days and we used it for our best days. So let me ask you this, sober girl spring, give it a shot. And what is the worst case scenario here? What is the worst that could happen? You feel better, you lose some toxic friends, you save a lot of money, you feel amazing, and you actually remember what you did this weekend. You wake up on a Sunday feeling bomb.com. You're going to take yourself out for a coffee date. You're going to go get a long run in, whatever it is that makes you fucking feel good. What is the worst that could happen? So this is my challenge to you. Try a sober spring for 30 days and then DM me on Instagram, the Samantha Parker, and please share your glow up story with me, or DM me on TikTok. I get a lot of DMs over there. I love TikTok. Okay, this is not a podcast about TikTok, but that's okay. DM me, message me, email me, send me a pigeon. Let me know how it's going. Let me know what comes up for you, because Sober Girl Spring is real and it's here to stay. Oh, and just to cover all my podcast bases here, make sure you guys subscribe, share this episode if you loved it, tag me, do all the little things, just show a little love. And thank you so much for being here. And thank you for listening to this episode of The Samantha Parker Show.